Welcome to the TheSocialChameleon.Show, where it's our goal to help you learn, grow, and transform the person you want to become. Today, we're talking about real estate investment as a retirement vehicle, kind of following our theme on the past few episodes. 64, we started with retirement savings. We showed you guys a bunch of example models on that. 65, we did Latte Factor, the book review. If you guys haven't seen those episodes, go check those out. We did 66, which is opportunity cost, which I think leads into a lot of the things before that. And then also this one, if you haven't seen that as well, go check out that and understand a little bit more about opportunity cost. And now we're on to, using real estate as another vehicle for retirement or other types of things, as an opportunity maybe for monthly income in your later years, or maybe even now, or maybe a lump sum cash withdrawal kind of situation in retirement you're looking for. This is just one thing you can use for that. And I guess we'll turn it over to Ransom. He's got a little model. Ransom is a professional in this industry. So if you have questions, please, mail the show. We'll get them over to Ransom. And if he can't answer them, we'll get it to somebody that can. And please do, like everything, don't do dumb shit and blame us. Seek professionals, get professional advice. Seek a realtor in your area or wherever, somebody that knows what's going on here can help you with ins and outs of all these different things.
Yeah, definitely. I am a real estate professional, but just for the state of Hawaii. So anywhere else, like Tyson's saying, please seek your professionals out there. So just again, we're out here bringing awareness to people and trying different things. So in episode 64, we kind of put out a spreadsheet and made that available for people who were looking to get into putting money into their 401k or 403b, IRA type of thing. And today we'll be talking a little bit more about, using that, I guess, similar model, maybe not apples to apples, but maybe say apples to broccoli. I have no idea if that's a good comparison. But for those of you that, you're not too hype about a 401k or a 403b, that doesn't suit your play style, then this may be another type of investment strategy for you. So that way, when you make it to those retirement years, you can do different things. For those of you listening to the podcast, this is kind of a visual. Tyson and I will probably do our best to explain the worksheet. But, again, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to get a hold of the spreadsheet that's out there, we'll make that available for you.
Absolutely. Just go to TheSocialChameleon.Show. And then you'll search for the episode or whatever. And in the show notes will be all the links to the spreadsheets and any other resources we come up with for you guys to make it easy as a jumping off point, as a starting point for you guys to think about these things.
Okay. Well, any questions before we got started, Tyson, that you think we should cover, or?
I don't think so. I guess this is kind of your deal. You're going to run the show here. We'll jump over to the spreadsheet.
I don't know if I'm running the show, but all right, we'll jump into the spreadsheet and then.
Yeah, You're the professional in this industry. I'll probably have questions as we go along to clarify my thinking.
Please feel free to jump in and ask those questions, especially if you think it's valuable to people out there. So a lot of people might have very similar questions. So I guess in our episode 64, we kind of started with year 2020 being the year to do something. So you'll see that here in this similar spreadsheet. So starting with 2020. But rather than going every year, real estate kind of takes its toll. The cycles tend to come every, say, maybe 8 to 10 years, something in that. They may be longer, they may be shorter. Real estate doesn't always go up in value, so just kind of keep that in mind. But, with the cycles that come and with the tools that are available for you to purchase real estate, the most common way to get it is by taking out what's called a mortgage, and that mortgage is for 30 years. So this type of investment goes over through to the long haul in the event that, you can actually purchase it without having all the money down. If you're going to buy stocks or put money into like a 401k, that has to be your own money that's going in. But when you purchase real estate, and it's example that we have here, you'll be purchasing a home that's worth $200,000, but you're not going to put $200,000 down to buy that home. You only be putting approximately 30% of the money. That'd be, $60,000 to $70,000 to purchase that home. And as soon as you buy that home, like your net worth jumps by 200,000 just because the home is worth that much, even though you didn't put that much into it. So that's kind of one of the things that you'll notice here. This section, we have the initial down, and 200,000 is the value. I kind of made these numbers conservative on purpose. I kind of wanted to make this like a blanket thing that just about anybody can do, and that I thought that these numbers are pretty realistic and pretty achievable for anybody, whether you're like real estate, 101, or whether you're a sophisticated real estate investor. These numbers should work. Putting 30% down and, using a mortgage to get the rest. And if you're in that range, you should be able to get this property. And with that, all of the costs involved with holding that property, let's just say your taxes, your mortgage obligation, right? That would include your PMI, your insurances, all that kind of stuff. With all of those things as your cost, you should be able to get a renter in that property that will pay for all of those, plus give you an extra additive. In this scenario here, I put $100 as your net rents. So basically that would be making $100 a month on that property when you put 70,000 down. I guess, am I going too fast, Tyson? Is that
No, I guess I keep hearing you say 30% down. That seems high to me. I hear 20 or less. Why do you go 30? What are we doing 30 for?
Well, 20% down is, I'm not going to say old, I guess. I don't want people to get offended, but my father's father probably had to actually purchase real estate at a 20% down type of shenanigan thing or deal as it was. Most lenders out there, if you put 20% down and you get 80% of the value in a mortgage, they won't charge you what's called mortgage insurance. Okay. It's basically an additional cost every month to hold that property. So this is for residential properties in general and for commercial properties. However, when you get to that 30% number, that would usually get you the best interest rate and or the best amount of fees in those programs, again, this model was just kind of like a one size fits all blanket model. And I just wanted to put these numbers again, because I think that they work the best.
Yeah.
I know we talked a little bit earlier offline, for those of you that are sophisticated and, you're going to go into the higher numbers, say instead of getting a property worth 200,000, if you're going to add a zero, just for this case being here, you're going to put another zero and get a $2 million property. Okay. On those types of properties, anytime you're getting a loan, maybe 700,000, probably a good marker. Anything above 700,000 in that you're going to be required in a loan, you're probably going to need to put more than 30% down, possibly even 40, maybe 50% down. So anyway, don't want to jump too ahead. The subject can get rather complicated rather quickly. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of why I just chose 30%. But for those of you out there, if you know, if you don't know, about the ratios, 30% down, you should be able to go to any lender in town, any broker in town, any credit union in town, and they should be able to get you a loan if you put 30% down, and your rates and or your fees to get that type of package should be pretty reasonable. And that's why I use those numbers.
So at 30% down, you're, I guess, hedging your bets or protecting yourself enough in a way so you can get the most monthly rental net. Is that what we're kind of?
And that's kind of how it goes about. I don't know if I still have the mortgage calculator up on the screen, but for this particular period, right? If we're going at a $200,000 property, and if you're going to get a mortgage of 140,000, right? Because I know the math doesn't always add up. 70 minus 200,000 does equal 130. I get that. But for those of you that don't know, there are sometimes other costs included, things like closing costs, points that you're going to have to pay on your mortgage. So I just kind of put a $10,000 buffer in there. And again, this is a blanket sheet. You guys can go back to the sheet at any time and change these numbers around and, change it from here. Instead, if you actually did put 70,000 down and include all your costs, you can change it to 130 in mortgage. And that's kind of the beauty of it. Again, we're just trying to explain this in general terms. $10,000 error so that you can get a $200,000 property, or maybe you buy something at 205. We just kind of want to try to keep the numbers simple, for the purpose of the show and for the purpose of explaining things. And when you get down to actually using it for your own purposes, you can get a little bit more technical. And again, if you have questions, please let us know. But anyway, we're getting back to the mortgage calculator that I have here at 4%. And the reason I went at 4% is also when you're getting a commercial loan, you will get interest rates that are typically higher than what you'll see on your residential properties, right? So if you go in and you buy a home to live in it, the bank is going to give you an interest rate that's preferable for you. So they will give you the lower interest rate. And in today's world, that should be somewhere around 3.5 to 4%. Just kind of depends when you get it, how much points you're going to pay. Again, these are kind of, complex questions that you'll have to meet with your loan officer and our realtor about. But I just did 140 at 4% just for the purpose of, getting it. Your monthly obligation becomes $668 at that point. So I know earlier you're saying, oh, why not put 20% down? Well, as you can see, if you only put 20% down, right, and this mortgage value gets higher, right? Now your monthly payment changes from,
$668 to $764, so almost $100 more.
Right. And then and that's going with the 20% down option, giving you a mortgage at $160,000. So, you know what I'm saying? Just that number alone right there, from 160 to 140, if, in most case scenarios, again, this is just general information, that will give you this $100 a month in net rents.
Okay.
For most case scenarios, if you're putting less than 30% down, especially if you're putting less than 20% down, your net rents or your cash flow from that property tends to go down quite a bit. And that's kind of why I use that model. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of make sense? Or
but that could also be part of maybe your strategy of
right. And for those of you out there, if you're saying ransom, you're full of crap, I don't know what you're talking about. I found properties at 0% down, and they make $500 in net rents every month. Like, I'm not saying that that's not possible. If there are properties that are out there that are going to make sense in which you can find those deals, by all means, go get them, and you can go back to the sheet and change it. I put $10,000 down on a property that was worth, $500,000, and it nets me, $300 a month. Like, those are also real scenarios that, can happen. That this type of strategy here, where you're putting less money down to get a property that's worth more, and you're getting $300 a month, like that deal tends to be a little bit more complicated. There's a little bit more moving steps involved with that. And, that's, if you want to talk about that kind of stuff offline, we can get into that. But this is just, again, we're going back to the whole blanket thing of this is something that anybody can use. And with these numbers, it should be able to work out. And these are pretty. So, anyway.
I guess to what I was thinking or saying or trying to say, I guess I didn't come across quite right, was if maybe an option or an idea would be, I'm going to eat $100 a month and only put down 50 grand or 30 grand. You know what I'm saying?
That's also possible. And for those of you out there, if you're tax professionals or you understand how the tax schemes work, sometimes a property on paper, well, I shouldn't say on paper, in actuality loses $100 a month, like all things considered. But when you get down to the tax breaks and the tax benefits of it, you actually kind of have this phantom money that goes out there. So that property actually ends up being positive on paper, right? So, or sometimes it ends up being negative on paper. So there are some phantom things that are out there, just, depending on what type of tax structures you have. I know this past year with the changes to the tax law, usually most people end up paying more in taxes nowadays, starting as of last year.
I did.
A lot of those things, especially if you're a sole proprietor or doing this as like a side business kind of thing, those went away. If you're more of a corporate structure or LLC type of structure, you could probably still have some pretty good tax advantages, just depending upon, again, seek tax advice and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then
go ahead.
I was thinking, my thought on, I wouldn't be trying to buy properties solely to get a tax advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it's that's not the goal. Again, this is to show you that you can use this strategy to get a home and it's worth $200,000. You only put 70 down. Yeah. Whether you're going to need $100 a month to keep that property, that's up to you. Mm-hmm. If you feel that keeping an extra, 10% in your pocket in cash value is worth it to eat $800 a month, just remember that, your mortgage is going to be for 30 years. Yeah. So
see, that's what I was thinking when I seen that, from 20 to 30, I'm like, that's $100 a month. So I can keep 10% of my money and break even zero. Maybe that I could, and then that other money can be buying maybe another property or part of my emergency fund, or I can make a little bit extra on the side with that. Maybe I can make, you know what I mean? I don't know.
That's all fine and dandy. If that's what you do, I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah. If you're going to purchase real estate, there are tons of properties out there, tons of areas that you can go out there. You should be able to make some type of net profit on your real estate investments. Mm-hmm. Again, using 30% down, I don't necessarily see the need to take a loss every month because then when you get here to the last column where it says total money invested, you're going to add $100 a month. And as you can see here, it's $1,200 a year times 30 years. You're going to add another $100,000 to that over the 30-year period.
True. Right.
So that's kind of the thing that I don't necessarily recommend. But whatever the case might be, if you got a better place to put that, 10%, by all means do so. Just for this case scenario, I didn't want to show that because now you're increasing your total invested cost, which is not the goal, right? This goal is to purchase a piece of real estate that will pay for itself and give you possibly a little bit additional income every month as it grows in value. And that's kind of the strategy, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. So I guess before we get into any of the further questions, maybe I can just get to the point. I know some of you are like waiting, like, well, what's the point, Matt? But anyway, so initially when you put the 70,000, your net worth is 200,000, as you can see here on the sheet. Mm-hmm. And then in 30 years, you have to remember that that mortgage goes away. That mortgage of 140,000 was paid for by your tenant who lived in there, and on top of that, you should have been making, at least a profit, if not broken even, but you should be making a little bit of profit. So every year you've been making $1,200, minus all your expenses, including vacancies. And in 30 years, your house is actually worth more than you bought it for, and again, I'm not saying real estate always goes up in value, but there should be a time in that 30-year span period from 2020 to 2050 when your $200,000 house is actually worth $300,000. So whether you cash it out at that moment in time or we keep it just for the purpose of this example and to kind of keep things simple, let's just say it went up by $100,000 in 30 years. It may be worth more than that in 30 years. It may be worth less. I really don't know, but through the proven amount of time, real estate does tend to go up for the long haul, over the long period. And I think from 200 to 300,000 is a pretty reasonable gain and a pretty reasonable value. And also, if you take a look here in this column, you can see that the mortgage gets reduced to zero in 30 years. And again, you can pay that off earlier if you want to. If that's going to be where your money, I know, Tyson, you're talking about losing money every month, but if you wanted to actually pay your mortgage down early, let's just say you get a bonus or something, you want to pay that mortgage earlier. When you pay that mortgage off, if you remember, according to the mortgage calculator, that's $668 a month. That's monthly expenditures that you're paying. So now instead of your property grossing $100 a month, your property is grossing $700 a month. Right?
Yeah.
And then,
well, if you had your 100 plus the 668, maybe even more than that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, right?
Yeah,
Your
right.
net value is worth more. It's worth $300,000,
Right.
giving you now $700 a month, which is $8,400 a year, right? And you've only put $70,000 into this investment. And that's kind of the beauty of things and the beauty of time. You know, the more, you know, time that goes on, you know, this 84 is just going to grow and grow and so on and so forth. The net value of your home can also grow as well. So, you know, these are just kind of simple things and simple. I just kind of wanted to touch basis and make sure we went over this initial sheet, because things will get a little bit complicated as we go on to the 2-house model and the 3-house model. I can kind of explain that. So I'm sorry, any other questions that you had? I know I cut you off earlier.
No. I just, no, I think we're good here. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you paying $668 a month, and then now you're not. So you have that $668,
right? Plus whatever,
or whatever, $500 you're making on top of that, or maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and you can kind of use this strategy to get in there. And again, for those of you that are more sophisticated, or for those of you that are getting started and you say like, well, you know, the actual value of my homes in my area is actually what are we were looking at, like 330?
I think that's like I think the median in my area.
Right. For other areas like 330. So, you know, now you're going to change this number to 110. Right? Or let's just say you don't need that much to make it. Maybe you only need 90,000. You know, now we're just put in, you know, whatever kind of numbers we want. And then from there, you're going to carry a mortgage of what, 240? Okay, so something like that. And, you know, and then this property, instead of netting you $100 a month, kind of nets you, you know, $400 well, let's just say 250. I don't know. Whatever.
Sure,
okay, so, you know, and then this is the kind of stuff that you can play around with. So you copy this number and put it over here. And then this is going to be your initial 330. Okay, so for those of you out there that actually want to use this sheet, sorry for those of you listening on the podcast, you can't really see what cells I'm going to and how I'm changing those numbers and making all of that happen. But, you know, just so you know that the sheet, you can go in here and you can change it and make it to do your bidding and all of that kind of stuff. So
on the show note page, though, there will be the video and the audio version. So if you want to see the video version, go to the show note page or go to YouTube, and you can easily just scrub ahead to this and you can see what we're working on here.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, and this is just a quick way that you can go in here and kind of change some of the numbers around. So that those of you can see it. Dang, I should have actually made a copy of that. But sorry for those of you out there. I'm just going to go change it back to the original. Maybe not. I'll just leave it there for now. Okay, so moving along, going right along to our next thing. So with this, you can actually use the sheet here. And at the bottom, as you can see, the tabs.
Yeah.
So this is just the example of the house. And then, so this is the 1-house model. So now let's say, and again, for those of you that are out there thinking that, hey, I don't have $70,000, you know, you can change this number around. This doesn't have to be next year, right?
Yeah.
Using the Latte Factor, right? Or whatever factor that is, you know, for those of you out there that like to buy expensive cars, you know, the car factor or whatever. You know, whatever your factor is out there, this doesn't have to be 2020. This can be 2025, right? Say it'll take you 5 years to save up $70,000. Is that possible? Is that reality for you? In 5 years, you can buy a house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want it, make it your reality.
You know, and that's just $14,000 a year. And if that's not it, then you know what I mean? Maybe this has to go to 2027. You know, we talked about opportunity cost last episode, right? Like, what is that time costing you? These years that you're going to be saving this money is going to be towards your future, investing in this house, you know, or, you know, this could be the home that you live in. This could be an investment home, whatever the case might be. For those of you that are sophisticated, you get a duplex, you live in one area and you rent out the other. Yeah. You know, you can do a number of things with this. This could be the home that you actually live in. You know what I mean? That you put $70,000 down and you're, you know, 100% getting paid $100 a month because your renter that lives in your subunit is paying your mortgage for you. Like, these are all things that are reality. And this is the beauty of using real estate versus using your 401k or your 403b. So,
yeah, I mean, there's lots of scenarios you can house hack, they call it, getting roommates, converting your basement or whatever. There's like lots of scenarios you can do things. So talk with people, get creative, look things up. I mean, lots of ways you can make a little extra with your house, depending on your situation. Or when you're out there looking for houses, looking at this house saying, this would be I can do this, we can do that, we can convert this, we can split it. Like, there's tons of different scenarios to, make income opportunities in your home and not inconveniencing your lifestyle necessarily.
Okay, good. All right. So didn't mean to get too sidetracked with all the questions we had out there for the questioners and us, but just kind of wanted to cover the basis and show people how they can adjust the worksheet so that it suits their needs. And, you know what I mean? And now we can get into the little bit more complex things. And then on here, we'll show you 3 houses after this. Okay. So we'll just keep things the same. Again, the numbers can be changed, right? It's like that show, the names and faces have been changed. But, whatever the case is. So we're just going to use the same simple numbers so that we can, get the point across here, right? So putting $70,000 down, buying a $200,000 property, that property is going to cash flow you net rents of $100 a month, including all of your holding costs, including vacancies, all those kinds of things, grossing you $1,200 a year. Okay. And the net worth of that house, the second that you buy it, is what it's worth, $200,000. Okay. There are times in which you have built-in equity, so that home might actually be worth $210,000 or $220,000 when you buy it. Again, that's the beauty of real estate, but we're just going to keep things simple for now, just so that when we start compounding houses upon houses, we keep the numbers the same so that kind of people get the idea. I guess, does that kind of make sense, Tyson? Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so we got that. That's our first house. And again, I'm just using a 3-year model, right? Because we talk about, putting money away. So if it's not 3 years for you, why don't we just change this year to 2025? We'll use the 5-year model. Okay. So,
and I guess that's the core message out here is set yourself up. Like, what are you going to do, and plan that out? Like, we're going to do this every 3 years, every 5 years, whatever. And then setting that up, making that automatic or whatever you need to do to get that down payment, like thinking about that future wise.
Exactly. And, and so from here, we'll just go with the 5-year model. So you buy your first house next year, 2020. Okay. And then you buy your next house in 5 years from there, 2025. You own 2 houses. Okay. You put $70,000 down on your next house, right? It's worth $200,000. So the numbers get a little bit skewed here. So the reason you see the mortgage value of $280 is because, remember, we have 2 houses. So we have 2 houses, which means we have 2 mortgages for $140,000. This is the power of leverage, right? This is the ability of the bank that's going to give you the money to do that. And again, your net worth is worth twice as much, right? You have 2 houses, so your net worth is now $400,000, right? And instead of making $100 a month, you'll be making $200 a month, which is $24,000 a year. I mean, sorry, $2,400. Sorry for those of you. $24,000.
I'll let you ask.
Sorry, I added another 0. Okay. And again, the total amount that you have invested is $140,000. Yet your net worth the second that you buy it is $400,000. So you just kind of got to keep in mind like how these things work, and the beauty of real estate, and the beauty of all types of investments, and how these things can play out. Okay, so now we're going to wait 30 years from 2020 when you bought your original house. Okay, and here's where things can kind of change, right? So in 30 years, you still own 2 homes, but now your mortgage, instead of holding 2 mortgages, you're actually going to be only holding 1 mortgage, and your mortgage left on your second house is probably going to be a lot less than your original $140,000. But again, for the simplicity of using the sheet, I just kind of want to put it that it's still there, right? You still have it. Okay. And then from here, remember your $200,000 house went up in value to 300,000. Okay. And then the second house that you bought 25 years ago probably also went up in value. But again, we're just keeping the numbers simple so that people can use it. Right. And there, since your first mortgage is gone, or should I say the mortgage on your first property is gone, you're going to get that additional $600 a month. So now you're making $800 a month in rents, right? Which comes out to just under $10,000 a year. And your net worth, total money again, 140 that you put in is still the total money that you put in. That's all the money that you need to put in for this investment. 30 years later, it's worth $500,000. And then you wait 5 years later to 2055, right? When your second house is completely paid off and it's worth more than you bought it. So now the numbers compound. It's $600,000 for both houses. Now you're making $1,400 a month, right? Which is $16,800 a year. That's not bad.
That's shabby.
That's in Hawaii. That's still poverty, but
in most places in America, that's poverty.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
And this supplemental to whatever you're making.
Right. It's supplemental to whatever you're making at the time. And, you got houses here. And then the beauty of it is, as this compounds, if you can imagine on the next sheet, when I show you, and, if you bought your third house in 2030, in 2060, right, your 3 houses will be paid off for, and you'll have $900,000 net worth, as you can see.
It is.
And it's like, look, you put in 210,000, right? Because you put that extra 70 for the third house.
Right.
Now you have a net worth of $900,000, and this is a span of, 20 to 60. So that's 40 years, on this sheet. Sorry. For those of you that are watching, you can actually see that I kept the 3-year model here. You buy one every 3 years, but again, you can change those numbers to whatever years you buy them in. And if you miss a year and you plan to buy it by year 3, but things didn't work out and you bought it at year 4, then change the numbers, make the sheet yours.
Yeah. And this is just planning, right? This is not necessarily, you can use this you can use this for actual stuff, but
yeah, you can use it for actual investments that you own if you are starting this model. But these are things to kind of get the gears running, to get your brain turning and to be like, hey, this is possible. I can do this. Like, when you start to put things on paper, then, you can actually look at something. You got milestones to reach. You got, you now have things that are attainable when before, like, you didn't have any idea how to get there. Like, that's what the show is all about. We want to show you how to get places. We want to help you transform to that person that you want to become and accomplish what you want to accomplish. So,
and I was thinking about when you're doing this, I was thinking, 70,000, if you did that for 5 years, that would, you'd have to put 14,000 in each year, or exactly. $1,167. But I was thinking, I was like, as you start to kind of go here, you could, if you took what you were putting in, plus you took your rental net into that pot as well, you could actually wind up speeding this up a lot faster.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, for those of you that, just to reiterate what Tyson said, you got to remember that you're making $1,200 a year, right? So if the first year you saved 14,000, right? And then the next year, instead of saving 14,000, you're saving, what is that? Plus 1,200, right? That's 1,512.
Right.
And the same thing. So by year 3, by the third house that you buy, at just $300 a month, you're making an extra $3,000 a year. So yeah, you're right. You're making money every month from these houses. You can put that into your next fund to buy your next house. You're right.
And so every 3 years or whatever, it'd be easier for you to save up, or you can do it maybe quicker or whatever.
Or for year 3, when you make that 3,600, like, you're like, hey, you know what? I've worked hard for 9 years to put money away, or for 15 years to buy these 3 houses. Every year I'm going to go to Disneyland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of,
however you want to live your life, whatever you want to do.
However you want to do. Yeah. So, and that's kind of the beauty and the power of this. And for those of you that are thinking, well, I'm only making, I'm sorry again for those that are listening on the podcast, but if you're looking at your net rents that you're getting after you buy your third house, the net rents after all those houses are paid off is going to be $2,100 a month, and that's like $25,000 a year. So
but that's supplemental to whatever other things you're doing.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm trying to allude at is that, hey, you're at 2060 or whatever, you know what I mean? You're going to be in your golden years. Like, I want to cash out on this 900,000 in my net worth. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can sell one of those houses, right? And right now they have the stipulation. I don't know what the stipulation is going to be in 2050 or, 40 years from now, but you live in a house for 2 out of 5 years, you can sell that house tax-free, $250, And so if you do that, you can sell this house for $300,000 because that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
And now you have $300,000 to live off for the next 3 or 4 years.
Right. That's a good life.
Mm-hmm. And I've known people to do that. They spent their whole life buying houses, house after house. And then, towards the golden years, they live in a house for 2 years, they sell it and they cash out on that, 250 or 500,000, just depending, whatever they made. And that's the money that you live on for the next 2 years while you're living in the next house. And then you sell that house and so on and so forth. Or if you want to just go broke and sell them all at the same time, pay the taxes and go out with a bang, 900,000, whatever you want to do, man. That's the thing. Whatever your plan is, whatever you want to do, that's the beauty of it. You're giving yourself options, opportunities. It's, especially when we're older, it's so much nice to not have to worry about money and these different types of things. Yeah. And so, and just kind of, I think I left the IRA worksheet from 64 on here too. Yeah. And for those of you that are watching along, I'm just going to click on the IRA worksheet. But if you remember, right, we're contributing $19,000 a year on this sheet from 2020 all the way down to 2046 to hit, $2 million. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Whatever your year plan is, you can buy a house with this money every 3 or 4 years and accomplish, something similar. Yeah, and that's more than every 5 years, you would need to put 14 away. So that's more than that. Right there. But whatever, And then once you get your 3 houses, you can go back to this model and put your 14,000 into your 401k or 403b, or you can do whatever other kind of things that you want to do with that money. Yeah. Put it into things that are more liquid, like speculating in stocks or ETFs or whatever it is you want to do. So I don't know. You had some other questions when we were offline. What were some of those other questions? I can't remember. I think we covered a lot of them, but I don't know. I was just trying to get a hold of what we were going to talk about, and so I know. Stop asking; these are perfect. But anyway, I know I was talking about the down, and I was talking about. I was asking about getting a different type of mortgage, like if you're going to live there. Okay, so like you were saying that if you get a regular home mortgage, like for your personal residence, you got to live there for a year. Yeah. Okay. So, we talked a little bit about earlier at the beginning of the show that putting 30,000 down should make it a pretty foolproof. Don't get me wrong. Everything can fall apart at the head of a dime, but 30% down is a pretty solid strategy to get positive cash flow on your properties just because of the debt obligation. But if for some reason, or, you find a property in which less money down makes more sense, you can put less money down and you can still get net proceeds off that property, go ahead and do that. And one of the ways to do that, especially if you currently don't own a home at all, is to buy your first investment as a owner occupied. And again, for those of you out there, be like, well, Ransom, you're a real estate professional. You shouldn't be doing that. Shouldn't be advising people to do that. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Mortgage fraud is very real. You just have to understand that if you're buying a house as a owner occupant, Okay. Owner occupant being the word, you will get a lower interest rate, and you will have better loan programs available to you with less money down. Some of those programs go all the way up to 100%, mortgage on the property. So you're basically just paying closing costs. Okay. But keep in mind that the numbers, when you have 100% mortgage on the property, don't always look the best. The numbers for that property are kind of horrible, but in some cases they may work. So if you are going to purchase your first investment property as a homeowner or owner occupant, okay, you have to make sure that you live in that property for at least a year. At least that's what it is in Hawaii. You'll sign an affidavit that states that you have to live in that property for a specified amount of time, right, to make it owner occupied. Okay. And if you're going to do that, make sure whatever you're signing, that affidavit, you live in the home for that specified amount of time. After you live in it for that, your owner occupant period is over. You can sell the home, or, you can rent it out. You can do what you want after that. So,
yeah. So that's what I was thinking about. Like, living in it for whatever, the year, 2 years, whatever makes sense for you in your life or your family, or maybe you're in the military or something like that. You move a lot, whatever. And then you'd have better, in my eyes, favorable terms or something. Maybe it doesn't work out to the rent.
Right. But then again, you can also, you can buy like a duplex, occupant, and, after a year, rent out that other portion.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about. Like, you live there for a year or two. I mean, also factoring in moving costs and different things like that. You might eat into some profits, or maybe even go a little bit more negative or whatever it be.
And then also keep in mind that, you want to put some money on the side, because 30 years is a long time. You got to replace the roof. You got to paint things. Toilets are going to break, stuff. So, you should set some money aside for closing costs, which is kind of why I didn't really touch this, $1,200 a year or $2,436 a year, because you can use those funds to kind of replace and do your daily maintenance on things that you're going to need throughout the life of your investment. But again, you can make these numbers work. This strategy right here on paper is, it's pretty solid one, and it's pretty conservative. I definitely think that the potential to make more is out there, but again, this is something that I think is very feasible in today's world, and it's very doable, and that's kind of why I wanted to share it.
Yeah, I'm not selling the hype of whatever,
Of course. I mean,
the end of the century comes by every day, every week, so there's things out there you got to look, but you got to know where you're going, and you got to know how to start. So, and this is, that, I think. Yeah,
for sure. Righty.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. I think this is fun, and it's not necessarily a lot of money every year. You know what I mean? Anywhere from 14 to 20,000. Depends on what you're looking at, what your plan is. Maybe you do every 7 years, maybe 10, whatever your plan is.
Yeah,
I think that way, setting that up,
5 years,
knowing what it is.
If you put 14 away every year, that's a little over $1,000 a month.
Yeah, it's 11, call it $1,200 a month.
Yeah, and that's pretty reasonable. And again, if you don't make that amount of money on the show, we got other episodes too, to just kind of get out there, get motivated, do things. I think in one of the episodes we talked about the jobs that are out there.
Yeah, different jobs availability. Yeah, we did. Yeah,
that are out there to get jobs. Like if this is one of those pieces that's like, hey, Ransom, I want to do this, but I don't make that. But use this as your motivation.
Yeah,
your future is yours to attain and to get. Like, you got to get out there and get it.
Yeah, but maybe you don't make that now, but or maybe you don't have that extra cash available now. But you can start saying, okay, listen, I'm gonna work on paying off my car loan. I'm gonna work off paying off my credit cards. I'm gonna work off paying my student loans. And each time I do one of those, I'll get an extra $100, $200, and then you can start. So that maybe only not right now, you can only do $150 a month. But as you start paying something off, now you got that payment plus what you were doing. So now you can double it up. Now I can pay $500 a month into this. And eventually you can start getting to a point where as you pay things off, as you get debt free, maybe you get raises and different types of things. Yeah. You can start to save a bigger amount of money every month. And It might take you whatever, but you got to have that plan. Like, I need to get to the point where we're saving $1,200 a month so we can buy our first property with 30% down.
Or you can be like the guy in the Latte Factor, it's like he was in debt, he was all this stuff. He had health problems. And, it just took him, I think he had a heart attack or something in that book.
Yeah, right. I think it was.
His doctor's like, look, man, you got to stop smoking. And like, that became the secret. It's
Boom,
like all the money that he paid for cigarettes was pretty dang expensive. I don't know where you live, but where I live, like, it's like $100 a carton.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And
I think here it's like 70 or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, how many cartons do you smoke? Like, that's if you just buy the cartons. If you buy packs, like, it's like $8 and $10 a pack of cigarettes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that can be that money you stop smoking. You use the money that you spend on smoking, start investing it somewhere. Like, that worked for that particular character in the book. And again, we just want to help you get forward and start moving and getting where you need to be.
Yeah, it's just ideas for you guys. I mean, different things to think about. Whatever works for your lifestyle and what you're trying to accomplish. It's not impossible. It may feel or look like it is at the moment, but when you look in the future and you say, okay, where am I at now? Where do we want to be in 30, 40, 50 years? And you start bringing it forward, you start breaking it down to a monthly, a weekly thing, and you start having a plan of attack. These things start feeling less crazy and overwhelming and impossible.
All right.
And if you're looking for more things to get you ahead or get you a leg up or different things, books or whatever it is, check out what we got going on for our monthly giveaways. That's what we're doing there. Go to TheSocialChameleon.Show/pick-me. See what we got going on. We've got supplements. We've done masterminds and books and all kinds of different things. We're always looking out there for things that we're using and we're loving and we're liking, that's adding value or more time or efficiencies or being more effective in our life. We're trying to pass it on to you guys. Go over there, see what we got going on, TheSocialChameleon.Show/pick-me for your chance to enter to win this month's giveaway. Mm-hmm. And as we said earlier in the beginning of the show and probably several times through, we will link these resources for you guys here, the spreadsheets and the Latte Factors, all that past episodes and everything for you guys to comb through and find that stuff, get that going. We'll link all that in the show notes for you guys at TheSocialChameleon.Show. Anything else, Ransom, you think for links and resources and stuff like that?
No, this is kind of just a spreadsheet that I put together. Yeah. So I don't really know anyone that uses this specific method, but there's lots of real estate investing books and resources out there.
Yeah, and I'll put a bunch together for you guys in different past episodes we've done that is relevant and has resources there for you guys as well. And then on to this week's challenge. Mm-hmm. Start with the end in mind. What do you need in retirement? What are you looking for your retirement to be like? What is your monthly income goals? Or are you looking for cash out opportunities in your later years? Figure out what that number is and come up with a plan. Whether it's your monthly savings goals and retirements like we talked about in previous episodes, or like we're talking about here in this episode, getting a property every 3 or 5 or whatever number of years works for you, works for your plan, your risk tolerance. Go sit down, either yourself, or your spouse, your family, whatever it is, come up with a plan, figure out what you guys want life to look like in your retirement years, set that out, get that goal from there, and work your way back to what do we need to do today? What do we need to do now to start going? Or maybe you're close and you never knew what to do with it. Here's a vehicle that's available. Go do that. That's your guys' challenge for this week. Sit down, figure this out, start with the end in mind.
Nice. And just final thoughts. The show is about bringing awareness. The other weeks we showed you 401k or 403b plan strategy that you can use. And this week we're showing you a real estate investment strategy that you can use to, live nicely in your golden years. We only hope that this information is useful or that you can actually put this information to use, because knowledge without action is just knowledge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Applied knowledge is power. So if you know other family members, friends, coworkers, whatever it is, you guys share this with them, sit down, maybe you guys can brainstorm a little, you guys come up with some things, different ideas, share this stuff. It helps enhance your learning, it helps enhance your understanding, and also helps the show. If you like what we're doing, leave us likes, leave us reviews, let us know. If you have ideas, you have questions, whatever it is, do that. And in between shows, you guys can connect with us all week long on the Social Chameleon Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget, if you like the video version, subscribe on YouTube. If not, in your podcast app. For past episodes and links to everything we talked about here today, you can visit TheSocialChameleon.Show. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, not just your mind, but your bank account and your retirement savings, and transforming into that person you want to become.